Yo, yo, yo. So Combine Day 2, ready to go. Want to go through some of the news with you guys, the buzz that's been going around, and I don't know. I might have already made up my mind on what I want at the 10th overall pick already. We'll have some Eagles news at the end of this, just a little bit of some rumors on some stuff, and yeah, Day 2 was kind of nuts. Let's get straight into it.
Because I've seen enough horror movies to know any weirdo wearing a mask is never friendly.
What is going on, guys? So obviously the first bit of news we have to go over is obviously Christian Gonzalez from Oregon. Damn. I gotta say, he ran a 4.44, I think, at the Combine, 40-yard dash, but when he got into the agility work placement, holy crap, fluid hips to his shoulders. I mean, looks like an all-natural. His movement is just, he makes it look that easy. And obviously when we heard the rumors about Christian Gonzalez and, you know, naturally what he could do in the NFL and how much better he is going to get, I think this has almost made him the best corner in this draft just from what he tested. I understand with Witherspoon was dealing with a hamstring injury, so didn't go through all the events. So a lot on the board here, a lot to really look at. And, you know, with Bradbury leaving, Christian Gonzalez might be, he really might be what you're looking for in a cornerback. And, you know, like I said, his movement is just fantastic. His start, stop speed, short area quickness, twitchy, you name it, he's got it, and he can get the ball in his hands, you know. So there's a lot going on here, a lot to digest with the cornerback group, and it's really hard for me to say that they can't go at this position. This would be the perfect year for the Philadelphia Eagles to go grab a cornerback and have him for 4 to 5 years, okay? This is the perfect moment for the Eagles to get that number one guy, because really at the end of the day, if Bradbury's walking, Slay's here for this year, and then he's a free agent, and then Maddox is only here for one more, I think another year after this year. So, they have to add a couple bodies. It's not just one. Obviously, they'll go through the undrafted free agent pool, but they might have to draft 2 corners in this draft. They might have to do a little bit more this year. So we'll see, but I got to say, this is probably my top guy going to the draft. If you want a cornerback, if Will Anderson and Jalen Carter are not there, you might have to pull the trigger on him. Now, you might even have to move up for him a couple spots, because somebody might just grab him. So even if they don't get Christian Gonzalez, they could go get, Witherspoon if he's available, or maybe they are a big, fan of Joey Porter or something like that, or maybe they wait a little bit longer and maybe move back and maybe get, Keely Ringo as well. It could be another one, which Keely Ringo had another, had his testing and ran a 4.36. I mean, for a big corner that he is, that's pretty good speed for a guy. And obviously, we talked about him the past couple of days. The Eagles had an interview with him, and it went really well. And he's met with a lot of teams. A lot of people think that he has bust written all over him. But the only question I really have is, can he guard a number one receiver in the NFL? Those twitchy, really fast number one guys. That's what I think he does really good on big receivers. One-on-one, uses his frame, boxing out receivers, kind of getting them off their route running and disrupting that, and works through the arms of the receiver, which is great. And like I said, between Witherspoon and Keely Ringo, I think those are the top 2 corners that are the most physical, when it comes to, they're a little handsy at times. So, the testing was good for both of these guys. Christian Gonzalez, I can't even. That guy is going to be a stud. He's going to be a stud in the NFL, and I would really want him. The agility workouts were just fantastic, just watching what he could do. Even if you want to look at safety on top of Brian Branch from Alabama, and he tested really well at 4.58. Can mirror defenders really well. Tackles a little bit high at times, but I think some of his game could be polished as well, where he could be taken in the late first to the second round. If he, drops to the second, could be another pick for the Eagles. But the issue that I have right now is where we are at the safety position, because with Marcus Epps leaving in free agency, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson hasn't gotten a deal yet with the Eagles, And how much faith do we have in Reed Blankenship right now as of coming off the sample size that he did get, which I was pretty happy with what we got out of him as an undrafted free agent. I can't really complain whatsoever. So there's a lot here to really go into, man. And obviously you have to look at the Eagles because they want to draft an offensive lineman. They probably have to draft another linebacker. So, there's even rumors about quarterbacks already. The Eagles already have a lot of interest in Dorian Thompson, the quarterback from UCLA. There was some news, just kind of talking about him. I never followed this kid before, so I have no idea. So I kind of had to look up some info on Dorian Thompson. So it says UCLA quarterback Dorian Thompson Robinson as a backup projection. So obviously they've already had him as a backup already. But his ability to make throws on the move and steadily improving accuracy could make him an option to develop into a backup for Eagles. Could mold. Thompson Robinson's potential scheme fit in the offense predicate on Jalen Hurts' ability to use his legs, their running game as a skill set the Bruins signal caller can bring as well. So, Dorian Thompson, I have a feeling they're looking. I was always looking at a Marcus Mariota in free agency, somebody that has a similar skill set to Jalen Hurts. This way, if Hurts has to be out a game or something happens, you could throw him in the same system and kind of do the same things that Jalen Hurts does. When we had Minshew and we threw him into these games, when Jalen Hurts was out, I was really pissed off at the coaching staff because they really just did the same thing Jalen Hurts does and put it in they took Minshew and put him in a Jalen Hurts system. That's what they pretty much did. That really pissed me off because you have, a quarterback that can run and you have, all they had to do was hone in on Miles Sanders, and that was pretty much it with Minshew at quarterback. The legs are not the threat here. So getting another guy from this draft, if he's a 6th, 7th round pick, I'm perfectly fine with that, and they want to kind of, bring him along and have Jalen kind of teach him some things and just see what this kid's got. And it really wouldn't be a bad thing, but I think similar skill sets in that read option, RPO type system with another mobile quarterback coming in, I think it's really going to be a good thing for this team going forward. So I can't complain about that at all. So look, we all know they were going to look at quarterbacks, and to get a guy with a similar skill set as Jalen Hurts, it's a good thing. This way you don't have to change too much. If Jalen Hurts has a bad, ankle or, something happens to where he has to sit out for a game and he comes in, they don't have to change too much with this offense. And that's, I think that was part of the problem where we could have got the number 1 seed so much earlier this past year, but because of just bad coaching and getting these guys prepared, it was just insane. So I think the Dorian Thompson thing is a smart thing to do instead of going after Marcus Mariota, which he's going to command a little bit of money as a backup. These backups don't get paid cheap. He will be, a nice chunk of change being a backup quarterback as of right now. So I think that's a smart move to make down, going down the line. We didn't really talk about receivers, but it looks like Jayden Reed from Michigan State has been talking to the Eagles. Had a meeting with the Eagles. So it says that Reed had an impressive final 2 years at Michigan State in 21, finished with 59 catches, 1,026 yards, and 10 touchdowns while averaging 17.4 yards per catch. He had 5 more receiving scores the past season. Could be one to watch in the draft. Obviously, this is more of a depth signing for some teams. I know the Bills have interest. There's a few teams that have been, talking to Jayden Reed, and some think he will be, a backup receiver for receiver depth most likely. But the Eagles are looking to trade Quez Watkins apparently, and hopefully they get a 4th, 5th round pick. I think that's where the Eagles are going to get their mid-round pick back, is a Quez Watkins trade. And I think he has some value, but we really don't have any depth at receiver. We really don't. Other than Greg Ward, you really have nothing much back there. So like I said, it's, receiver's an interesting one because I feel like, if God forbid anybody gets hurt, God forbid you need someone to get in there. And a guy like Jayden Reed has got a little bit of speed. You put him in the slot pretty quick. and see what he could do. You know what I mean? So if this Quez Watkins trade goes through, then, Jayden Reed could be your guy at that number 3 spot as a rookie, which would be pretty good. Now, I don't think, obviously, he's going to be anything of a high draft pick too much. I don't know what he's listed as where he should be drafted, but it seems like he is from a third to a mid-round pick, a little bit further than that, so who knows. But looking for a third receiver is not a number 3 receiver is really not going to be that hard for Howie, and I think they'll pull the trigger if they really want to. I don't think they dip in the free agency for it. I wouldn't. I think it comes down to the draft. And like you said, you have Greg Ward and other receivers. I don't even know who else they have that's really capable of even stepping on the field with A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and that they don't want to do the double tight end sets, and they want to kind of use a little bit more. I feel like we need more production in that spot. And Quez just had a really bad year, unfortunately. I think the Eagles are done. He's got one more year left on his deal. He's relatively cheap, which will definitely – him being cheap will definitely help the trade go down. It just depends on what we get in return for him. And like I said, he was hurt with a shoulder grade 2 sprain, but then you try to give him the biggest catch of the Super Bowl and totally goes through his hands. It's just not good enough. Just inconsistency. That's why they phased him out, probably because of the injury. Zach Pascal got more reps, and now they're trying to reach elsewhere for another receiver. They have to go younger, and and not saying that Quez was old, but they want to see if they can find a better talent out there. And I think guy like Jayden Reed, and he might not be the only one, could have a bunch of receivers on their board right now. And it's not the biggest, need. Receivers not. You're paying A.J. Brown a lot of money. His new contract goes into contention this year, and Devontae Smith has still got a couple more years before, he's going to get big money. So it's your receiving core is really good right now. But find that number 3 guy that complements all of them. These other guys are going to get a lot of attention. So if Jayden Reed comes in and is going to be the guy, it's going to, he might get open a good amount of times because of what's around him. So as a role-playing number 3 type guy, mostly some teams look at him as depth from what I'm reading from draft analysis, but for the Eagles, he might actually start with these guys, if he shows a lot of promise. So I was actually really excited about Jayden Reed a lot. So, we'll see more on him, later on. Now for the news that probably nobody wants to hear, and that's Brandon Graham. News is starting to splur out now that Brandon Graham is generating a lot of interest from a lot of teams. I think one team that's generating the most interest is the Cleveland Browns. And Jim Schwartz is the defensive coordinator over there, so he loves Brandon Graham so much, and that's why. Okay, so we totally get it. You're losing 11 players on defense. So if you don't re-sign anybody, you're losing 11 players on your defense this year, which is absolutely insane. What are they going to do here? Graham is literally begging the Eagles to sign for another 2 years, but it depends on Brandon Graham and how much he wants. He hit double-digit sacks, so he should get paid more money. But would he come here for a little cheaper, for a little bit of a discount? He already took his last contract he's getting off of. This is when, Clowney was getting, Clowney and a bunch of DeMarcus Lawrence and a bunch of these defensive ends were getting franchise tagged, and the Eagles were heavily involved in trying to get somebody in free agency that year, but they stuck with keeping Brandon Graham, and obviously it did pay off. He had a really good year this year, and double-digit sacks for the first time of his career, so coming off of Achilles injury at an older age is almost impossible to get back from, so I don't know what they're going to do here. If I was to guess, they're going to get this done. If I was to guess that Brandon Graham's going to get a deal done with the Eagles, bring him back for a couple more seasons to where it's not going to hurt them too much, and that's it. Kind of get this train moving because your defensive line is depleted right now. You got Derek Barnett, you got Josh Sweat, thank God our edges ain't that bad, but when it comes to the inside, besides Jordan Davis, that's not going to do nothing without a counterpart. There is nothing going on. Nothing. You got nothing. Milton Williams, whatever. It's not enough. It's not enough. So, Graham, would love for him to come back. I think realistically he can come back. I don't. Hargrave and the rest of these guys, they're not going to be back. It's just what it is. The Eagles haven't freed up any more money, so I'm kind of waiting to see what they're doing here. But yeah, that is pretty much all the news. And hopefully with the free agents and what's going to happen here, we're going to be losing a lot of guys. But hey, really happy about Christian Gonzalez. Really happy about Keely Ringo. Brian Branch is starting to make some noise at safety right now with the Eagles. Maybe want to maybe draft a safety if that's the case. Jayden Reed at receiver is an interesting one for us because we're looking for that number 3 guy right now. And some other teams have him as depth, and us, we might have him as a starter, to be honest. Throw them in the fire, man. That's what it's all about. So you guys let me know what you guys think about what you definitely enjoyed from day 2 of the Combine. What really stuck out to you? Christian Gonzalez, do you have him as the number 1 corner going to this draft? Do you think the Eagles would pick him up? How much interest do you think the Eagles have? So I'm pretty excited, man. We got to take advantage of what's loaded in this draft because you got these guys in the first round for 4 to 5 years, and you got to get it done. So you guys have a fantastic day. I'll see you guys on the next one. SHAKESQUAD up, follow us. Peace out, guys. Peace.